You didn't stumble upon this video by accident. Out of billions of pieces of content flooding your feed every second, your consciousness guided you here. This isn't random scrolling. This isn't algorithmic coincidence. This is recognition. Something deeper than logic drew you to these exact words at this precise moment, and that something knows you're ready for what's coming next. Right now, as you're processing these words, your nervous system is already responding in ways you might not consciously detect. Your breathing has shifted, your heart rate has subtly changed, and somewhere in the depths of your awareness, dormant pathways are beginning to activate. This isn't just another motivational video. This is frequency recalibration happening in real time. Scientists studying peak performance have discovered that transformation begins not with massive action, but with micro shifts in awareness. Tiny changes in how you perceive reality that create cascading effects throughout your entire existence. Simply by maintaining your attention on these concepts, you're initiating that process right now. You're about to discover why certain people seem magnetically drawn to success, while others remain stuck in cycles of limitation, no matter how hard they try. Here's something that will shock you. Researchers have proven that humans miss 94% of life-altering opportunities purely because discomfort triggers their avoidance response. Think about that for a moment. Nearly every chance that could completely transform your reality gets rejected by your unconscious mind before you even become aware it existed. Your brain, in its desperate attempt to keep you safe, is actually keeping you trapped in patterns that no longer serve your evolution. But there's something even more extraordinary happening beneath the surface of your awareness. Quantum physicists have discovered that consciousness itself shapes the fabric of reality. Every moment of focused attention you invest here is literally restructuring the probability fields around you, creating new pathways that didn't exist before you arrived. You're not just consuming content, you're actively participating in the reconstruction of your entire timeline. The electromagnetic field generated by your heart is 5,000 times stronger than that of your brain, and it extends several feet beyond your physical body. Right now, as these concepts resonate with something deep within you, your heart's electromagnetic signature is shifting, broadcasting a new frequency into the quantum field. A frequency that will attract experiences, opportunities, and people aligned with your emerging potential. This is why certain videos, certain messages, certain moments feel destined. They're not random encounters, they're magnetic attractions created by the intersection of your consciousness and the infinite intelligence of the universe, orchestrating exactly what you need for your next level of transformation. The very fact that you're here in this moment means your unconscious mind has already chosen expansion over limitation. Your higher self guided you here. Your soul recognized something in this transmission that it desperately needed to receive. This is your consciousness calling out to itself, creating the exact circumstances necessary for your awakening. Most people will click away within the first 30 seconds. They'll return to their comfortable distractions, their familiar limitations, their predictable patterns. But not you. You're different. You sense there's something deeper here, something that could change everything. That inner knowing that urged you to keep watching. That subtle voice that whispered, "Pay attention. This is important." That's your breakthrough intelligence speaking. You've been living beneath your potential, haven't you? Not because you lack capability, but because you've been operating from outdated programming. Programming that was installed when you were young, when your mind was like soft clay, absorbing every limitation, every doubt, every reason why dreams don't come true. But here's what nobody told you. That programming isn't permanent. It's not carved in stone. It's more like software running on the hardware of your consciousness, and software can be updated, upgraded, completely rewritten. The question isn't whether you have the power to change. The question is whether you're ready to claim that power and use it. Throughout history, Every person who achieved something extraordinary had one thing in common. They reached a moment when they stopped believing in their limitations and started believing in their possibilities. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They didn't wait for external permission. They didn't wait for someone else to validate their dreams. They simply decided that their current reality was no longer acceptable, and they committed to creating something better. That moment is available to you right now, not tomorrow when you feel more prepared, not next week when your circumstances improve, not next year when you've figured everything out. Right now, in this instant, you have access to the same power that has created every breakthrough, every innovation, every impossible dream made manifest throughout human history. But here's where most people stumble. They think transformation requires some massive, dramatic change. They believe they need to completely reinvent themselves overnight. They're waiting for lightning to strike, for motivation to magically appear, for confidence to arrive like a package delivery. But that's not how real transformation works. Real transformation begins with a single decision. A quiet moment when you look at your life and realize that settling for less than your potential is no longer an option. It starts with recognizing that the voice in your head telling you to stay small, to play it safe, to avoid risk, isn't protecting you. It's imprisoning you. That voice has been your constant companion for years, maybe decades. It speaks in your own tone, uses your own reasoning, presents itself as logic and common sense, but it's neither logical nor sensible. It's fear masquerading as wisdom. It's limitation disguised as protection. And it's been keeping you trapped in a reality far smaller than what you're capable of creating. Every time inspiration strikes, every time you consider taking bold action, pursuing a dream, or expressing your authentic truth, that voice appears. Not screaming, not dramatic, just persistent enough to create hesitation. It whispers reasonable-sounding concerns. What if you fail? What will people think? You don't have enough experience. The timing isn't right. You're not qualified enough. Within that pause, within that moment of hesitation, potential dies. Dreams suffocate. Possibilities evaporate. The window of opportunity closes, and you convince yourself it was never really there in the first place. This is how most people's lives unfold, not through dramatic failures or catastrophic setbacks, but through tiny moments of hesitation, small compromises, and quiet surrenders. But you're here because something inside you refuses to surrender. Something deeper than fear, stronger than doubt, more persistent than that limiting voice. Something that knows you're destined for more than you've been experiencing. Something that recognizes you're true felt it before, haven't you? Those moments when time power, even when your conscious mind questions it. You've seemed to slow down when everything felt possible. When you touch something timeless within yourself. Maybe it was during a crisis, when you found strength you didn't know you had. Maybe it was in a moment of pure creativity when ideas flowed through you effortlessly. Maybe it was in an instant of deep connection when barriers dissolved and you felt truly alive. Those weren't accidents. Those weren't temporary states that you'll never experience again. Those were glimpses of your authentic nature, breaking through the layers of conditioning, limitation, and fear that society taught you to accept as normal. Those moments were previews of what becomes possible when you align with your true power instead of fighting against it. The person you're meant to become isn't some distant future version that requires years of struggle to reach. That person exists right now, in this moment, waiting for you to stop denying their reality. They're not separate from you. They are you, operating from a frequency of possibility instead of limitation, abundance instead of scarcity, courage instead of fear. Right now, your mind is calculating. Should I invest my attention here, or should I escape to easier distractions? Should I lean into this discomfort and see where it leads, or should I retreat back to the familiar comfort of mindless scrolling? That seemingly insignificant choice represents the exact dividing line between those who dream and those who manifest their dreams into reality. You don't require cosmic permission. You don't need a sign from the universe, though ironically, your presence here right now is exactly that. You don't need external salvation, a guru to follow, or someone else to validate your potential. All that's necessary is releasing the illusion that you need to earn what's already yours by birthright. Only this moment exists, and this moment contains infinite potential. Right now, in this instant, you have access to more possibilities than you could explore in 1,000 lifetimes. The universe is pregnant with opportunities, synchronicities, and miracles waiting to unfold. But they require your participation, your decision, your commitment to step into the unknown. Most humans remain trapped in yesterday's regrets or paralyzed by tomorrow's uncertainties. Yet the singular space where authentic transformation occurs is right here, right now. The past is gone. It exists only in your memory and has no power over you except what you give it. The future is unwritten. It's a blank canvas waiting for you to paint your masterpiece upon it. That's precisely why this message found you today. Not last week when you weren't ready to hear it. Not next month when the moment would have passed. But in this exact window when your consciousness is primed for expansion. The synchronicity of this moment isn't lost on you. You can feel it, can't you? That sense that something larger is at play. That forces beyond your understanding have aligned to bring you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. This is how the universe operates. Not through coincidence, but through meaningful orchestration, purposeful encounters, and divine timing that your rational mind struggles to comprehend. Your consciousness has been broadcasting a frequency, and reality has been responding by delivering precisely the experiences, people, and information you need for your next evolutionary leap. But here's what remains invisible to most people. You've been operating from a fraction of your actual capacity, not because you're broken or lacking, but because you've been running on inherited limitations. Limitations that weren't even yours to begin with. They belong to parents who played it safe, teachers who discouraged big dreams, friends who settle for mediocrity, and a society that rewards conformity over creativity. These inherited patterns run so deep that most people mistake them for their own authentic preferences. They think they naturally prefer security over adventure, certainty over possibility, comfort over growth. But these aren't natural preferences. They're learned responses, programmed behaviors, conditioned reflexes that keep you operating within boundaries that were never meant to define you. Every cell in your body is replaced every 7 years. Your brain rewires itself based on your thoughts and experiences. Your DNA expression changes according to your environment and beliefs. You are literally not the same person you were 7 years ago, yet you're still living by the same rules, following the same patterns, accepting the same limitations that version of you believed were absolute truth. The breakthrough happens when you realize that everything you've accepted as unchangeable about yourself is actually completely malleable. Your personality isn't fixed. Your capabilities aren't predetermined. Your potential isn't limited by your past performance. You are a dynamic system, capable of complete transformation at any moment you choose to initiate that process. Scientists studying neuroplasticity have discovered that your brain can form new neural pathways in a matter of days. Researchers examining epigenetics have proven that your gene expression can shift based on your thoughts and emotions. Quantum physicists have demonstrated that observation itself changes the behavior of subatomic particles. The implications are staggering. You are far more powerful than you've been conditioned to believe. Your current circumstances aren't permanent fixtures. They're temporary arrangements based on your previous thoughts, emotions, and actions. Change the input, and you inevitably change the output. This isn't wishful thinking. This is scientific fact applied to human consciousness. But here's where most people get trapped. They try to change their external circumstances while maintaining their internal patterns. They want different results while thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, taking the same actions. This approach guarantees frustration because you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. The transformation you're seeking requires something more radical than changing your behavior. It requires changing your identity, not your personality or your values, but your fundamental understanding of who you are and what you're capable of creating. This shift happens in an instant, but most people resist it because it challenges everything they thought they knew about themselves. Right now, there's a version of you that exists in the quantum field of infinite possibilities. A version that has already overcome every obstacle you're currently facing. A version that has already achieved everything you're dreaming about. A version that operates from confidence instead of doubt, abundance instead of scarcity, love instead of fear. This isn't fantasy. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. In the realm of quantum possibility, all potential futures exist simultaneously until consciousness collapses them into singular reality. Your attention is the force that determines which possibility becomes your experience. Every moment you focus on limitation, you strengthen that timeline. Every moment you focus on possibility, you energize that alternative future. The version of you living your ideal life isn't waiting for you to become worthy enough to access it. It's waiting for you to remember that you already are that person, temporarily wearing the costume of your current circumstances. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't a distance you need to travel. It's a frequency you need to match. This frequency shift can happen instantaneously, but it requires letting go of who you think you are to become who you truly are. It requires releasing your attachment to your story, your history, your identity as someone who struggles, someone who has limitations, someone who needs to earn their dreams through suffering and sacrifice. The old paradigm taught you that transformation requires time, effort, and gradual progress. But quantum consciousness operates differently. In the quantum realm, change can be instantaneous. Healing can be immediate. Breakthroughs can happen in the space between one breath and the next. The only thing preventing this kind of rapid transformation is your belief that it's impossible. Your nervous system has been calibrated to expect struggle, to anticipate problems, to prepare for disappointment. This calibration creates a reality that matches those expectations. But your nervous system is remarkably adaptable. It can be recalibrated to expect miracles, to anticipate success, to prepare for joy. This recalibration begins with conscious choice and accelerates through consistent practice. Every thought you think is either moving you toward your desired reality or away from it. Every emotion you feel is either aligning you with your highest potential or anchoring you to your current limitations. Every word you speak is either programming your subconscious for success or reinforcing patterns of failure. There is no neutral. You are always creating, always manifesting, always choosing which timeline to activate through the quality of your consciousness. The universe isn't testing your worthiness. It isn't withholding your good until you prove yourself deserving. It's simply responding to your energetic broadcast with mathematical precision. Change your broadcast and you change your reality. This isn't metaphysical theory. This is practical application of universal laws that govern how consciousness interacts with matter. Most people broadcast mixed signals. They want success while expecting failure. They desire love while feeling unworthy. They dream of abundance while operating from scarcity. These mixed signals create mixed results, confusion, and the illusion that manifestation doesn't work. But the universe isn't confused. It's responding perfectly to the dominant frequency you're transmitting. Clarity of intention combined with emotional coherence creates the conditions for miraculous transformation. When your thoughts, feelings, and actions are aligned around a singular vision, you generate what scientists call coherent energy. This coherent energy has the power to reorganize matter, influence events, and attract circumstances that match your internal state. You've experienced this before without realizing it. Times when you were completely certain about something and it manifested effortlessly. Times when you felt so passionate about a goal that obstacles seemed to dissolve. Times when you were so aligned with your purpose that synchronicities appeared everywhere. These weren't accidents. These were demonstrations of your natural creative power, operating without interference from doubt, fear, or conflicting beliefs. The person you're becoming doesn't exist in your future. They exist in your present moment awareness, waiting for you to embody their frequency consistently enough that external reality has no choice but to reflect that new identity back to you. This embodiment isn't something you do occasionally during meditation or visualization. It's something you become in every moment, with every choice, through every interaction. It's about walking through your day as the person who naturally receives what they desire. Not because they're trying to manifest it, but because they've remembered that abundance is their natural state. Your current reality is simply a reflection of your past consciousness. The job you have, the relationships you're in, the money in your bank account, the health of your body, all of it is showing you who you were being weeks, months, or years ago. But here's the empowering truth. You can begin broadcasting a new frequency right now, and that new broadcast will begin reshaping your external world immediately. The delay between internal shift and external manifestation isn't because the universe is slow. It's because most people change their frequency for a few minutes or hours, then slip back into their old patterns. They think positive thoughts in the morning, then spend the rest of the day worried about bills. They visualize success during their practice, then talk about their limitations all afternoon. This inconsistency creates static in the signal, confusing the field about what you actually want to experience. Mastery comes when your elevated state becomes your natural state. When operating from possibility feels more comfortable than operating from limitation. When expecting good things feels more normal than expecting problems. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it doesn't take years either. It happens through conscious choice, moment by moment, breath by breath, decision by decision. Right now, your subconscious is processing thousands of pieces of information every second. It's filtering reality through the lens of your beliefs, showing you evidence that supports what you already think is true, while ignoring evidence that contradicts your established worldview. This is why people can live in the same city, but experience completely different realities based on their internal programming. Your reticular activating system, the part of your brain responsible for filtering information, is like a search engine constantly looking for proof of whatever you've programmed it to find. If you've programmed it to look for problems, it will find problems everywhere. If you've programmed it to look for opportunities, it will highlight opportunities you never noticed before. If you've programmed it to look for evidence that you're destined to win, it will begin showing you synchronicities, connections, and possibilities that support that belief. This programming happens through repetition and emotional intensity. Every time you think a thought with strong emotion attached, you're writing code into your subconscious operating system. Every time you repeat a story about yourself, whether positive or negative, you're reinforcing that program. Every time you react to circumstances with the same emotional pattern, you're strengthening those neural pathways. But here's what changes everything. You can consciously reprogram your subconscious by choosing thoughts and emotions that align with your desired reality instead of your current circumstances. This isn't about positive thinking or denying problems. This is about training your attention to focus on possibilities rather than limitations, solutions rather than obstacles, what's working rather than what's broken. The most successful people throughout history understood this principle intuitively. They didn't wait for their circumstances to improve before they started thinking like successful people. They started thinking like successful people while their circumstances were still challenging, and their external world eventually caught up to their internal reality. This process requires what researchers call cognitive flexibility, the ability to shift between different mental frameworks depending on what serves you best in any given moment. Instead of being trapped in one way of seeing things, you develop the capacity to choose your perspective consciously. Instead of being a victim of your automatic thoughts, you become the director of your mental experience. Most people experience life as something that happens to them. They wake up and react to whatever circumstances they find, letting external events dictate their internal state. But conscious creators experience life as something they participate in actively. They wake up and choose their internal state first, then watch as external circumstances begin to align with that chosen frequency. This shift from reactive to creative consciousness is the difference between feeling powerless and recognizing your infinite power. It's the difference between hoping things will get better and knowing you have the ability to make them better. It's the difference between waiting for your ship to come in and realizing you're the captain of your own vessel. Your energy field is constantly communicating with other energy fields around you. When you walk into a room feeling confident and positive, people can sense that energy even if they can't explain how. When you approach a challenge from a state of curiosity rather than fear, solutions appear that weren't visible from the fearful perspective. When you interact with others from a place of genuine care rather than need, relationships transform in ways that feel miraculous, but are actually the natural result of energetic alignment. This isn't mystical thinking. This is cutting-edge science applied to everyday life. Researchers studying heart coherence have discovered that when your heart rhythm becomes coherent through positive emotions, it affects the coherence of others around you. Studies on mirror neurons show that people unconsciously mimic the emotional states of those they interact with. Quantum field theory suggests that consciousness itself influences the behavior of subatomic particles. The implications are profound. You're not just changing your own life when you embody your highest potential. You're contributing to a collective shift in consciousness that makes it easier for others to access their own power. Every person who breaks free from limitation creates a pathway for others to follow. Every individual who refuses to accept mediocrity as normal raises the bar for what's possible in human experience. This is why your transformation matters beyond your personal satisfaction. You're not just healing yourself. You're healing the collective wound of powerlessness that has kept humanity operating far below its potential for centuries. You're not just succeeding for your own benefit. You're demonstrating what becomes possible when someone remembers their true nature and has the courage to live from that truth. The resistance you feel when contemplating major change isn't just your ego trying to keep you safe. It's the collective unconscious trying to maintain the status quo. It's generations of conditioning that taught your ancestors to play small, stay quiet, and accept whatever circumstances they were born into. But you're not your ancestors. You have access to knowledge, tools, and opportunities they could never have imagined. You're living at a time when the barriers between thought and manifestation are thinner than they've ever been. Information travels instantly across the globe. Resources can be accessed from anywhere. Communities of like-minded people can form regardless of geographic location. The playing field has been leveled in ways that make transformation more accessible than at any point in human history. Yet most people are still operating from outdated paradigms, using strategies that worked in previous centuries, but are completely inadequate for the possibilities available now. They're trying to succeed through struggle, achieve through sacrifice, and create through competition instead of recognizing that the new paradigm operates through flow, alignment, and collaboration. The universe is abundant beyond measure. There are enough resources, opportunities, and possibilities for every person on this planet to live in prosperity and fulfillment. Scarcity is an artificial construct created by systems that benefit from keeping people in survival mode. When you operate from abundance consciousness, you're not taking anything away from others. You're demonstrating that there's enough for everyone when we stop believing in limitation. This shift from scarcity to abundance consciousness is perhaps the most important transformation you can make. It affects every area of your life because it changes how you see everything. Instead of competing for limited resources, you recognize infinite possibilities. Instead of hoarding what you have, you trust that more is always available. Instead of fearing loss, you expect continuous expansion. Abundance consciousness isn't about accumulating material possessions. It's about recognizing the infinite nature of creativity, love, joy, and possibility. It's about understanding that the universe is constantly expanding, creating new opportunities for growth and expression. It's about aligning with the creative force that's always moving toward greater complexity, beauty, and consciousness. And when you operate from this expanded awareness, what seemed impossible becomes inevitable. What felt like struggle transforms into flow. What appeared as obstacles reveal themselves as stepping stones. This isn't because you're forcing reality to conform to your wishes. This is because you're finally cooperating with the natural tendency of consciousness to evolve toward greater freedom and expression. The person you're becoming isn't limited by the rules that governed your past experience. They operate from principles that most people haven't discovered yet. They understand that intention focused through emotion creates reality. They know that consciousness is the primary force and matter is secondary. They recognize that time is fluid and healing can happen instantly when resistance is released. This version of you doesn't wonder if they deserve success. They know that existence itself is proof of worthiness. They don't question whether they have enough knowledge or experience. They trust that wisdom emerges through engagement with life. They don't worry about making mistakes because they understand that every experience provides valuable feedback for course correction. The difference between where you are now and where you're destined to be isn't measured in time or effort. It's measured in frequency, and frequency can shift in an instant when you finally stop arguing with your potential and start embodying it. This embodiment isn't something you practice during meditation and then abandon when you return to daily life. It becomes your natural state, your default setting, your automatic response to every situation. You've been conditioned to believe that transformation requires struggle, that growth demands sacrifice, that success must be earned through suffering. But these beliefs are artifacts of an old paradigm built on limitation and separation. In the new paradigm that's emerging on this planet, transformation happens through alignment, growth occurs through joy, and success flows naturally when you stop blocking your own magnificence. The blocks you've been carrying aren't as solid as they appear. They're energy patterns held in place by repeated attention and emotional investment. The moment you withdraw your energy from these patterns and redirect it toward possibility, they begin to dissolve. This isn't gradual erosion over years. This is instantaneous reorganization when you finally say no to limitation with every fiber of your being. Your DNA itself responds to your consciousness. Researchers studying epigenetics have proven that your thoughts and emotions directly influence which genes are activated and which remain dormant. The genes for creativity, resilience, intuition, and extraordinary capability aren't missing from your genetic code. They're simply waiting for the right signal to activate. That signal is your unwavering belief in your own limitless potential. Every ancestor who survived long enough to pass on their genetic material had to overcome seemingly impossible odds. You carry their strength in your cellular memory. You have access to their courage, their resourcefulness, their refusal to surrender in the face of overwhelming challenges. This isn't just inspirational metaphor. This is biological fact. Their triumphs are encoded in your very structure, waiting for you to remember and activate them. But you also carry forward their fears, their limitations, their survival strategies that are no longer relevant to your current reality. The hypervigilance that kept them safe in dangerous environments now manifests as anxiety in safe situations. The scarcity mindset that helped them conserve resources during famines now prevents you from recognizing abundance all around you. The tribal mentality that protected them from outsiders now limits your ability to connect with diverse communities and opportunities. Healing these inherited patterns isn't just personal work. It's ancestral healing that ripples backward and forward through time, liberating not only yourself, but generations before and after you. When you break free from limitation, you're breaking chains that have bound your family line for centuries. When you step into your power, you're giving permission for others in your lineage to do the same. This understanding transforms the stakes of your personal transformation. You're not just changing your own life. You're participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. Every limitation you transcend makes it easier for others to transcend similar limitations. Every fear you face diminishes the collective power of that fear. Every joy you allow yourself to experience adds to the reservoir of joy available to all humanity. The universe has been preparing you for this moment your entire life. Every challenge that seemed to break you was actually breaking you open. Every loss that felt devastating was clearing space for something better. Every failure that crushed your ego was liberating your authentic self from the prison of other people's expectations. Nothing has been wasted. Everything has been preparation. The skills you developed while navigating difficulty become superpowers when applied to creating what you want. The resilience you built while surviving trauma becomes unshakable confidence when you're pursuing your dreams. The empathy you cultivated through your own pain becomes a bridge for helping others transform their suffering into strength. Your greatest wounds become your greatest gifts when you stop seeing them as evidence of your brokenness and start recognizing them as proof of your capacity to heal and grow. Most people try to hide their struggles, pretend their challenges don't exist, present a perfect image to the world. But your struggles are not shameful secrets to be hidden. They're testimonies to your strength, evidence of your courage, proof that you refuse to be defeated by circumstances. When you own your story completely, including the difficult chapters, you reclaim power that was scattered across traumatic experiences and integrate it into your current identity. This integration creates what psychologists call post-traumatic growth. Instead of being diminished by difficult experiences, you're expanded by them. Instead of being limited by your past, you're empowered by it. Instead of being defined by what happened to you, you're defined by how you chose to respond to what happened to you. This shift from victim to victor isn't about denying pain or pretending problems don't matter. It's about recognizing that you have the power to transform any experience into wisdom, strength, and compassion. The person you're becoming has already faced every fear that's currently holding you back. They've already overcome every obstacle that seems insurmountable from your current perspective. They've already solved every problem that keeps you awake at night. This future self isn't separate from you. They are you, operating from a higher frequency of consciousness, where solutions are obvious and success is natural. You can access this future self's wisdom right now by asking simple questions. What would the version of me who has already achieved my dreams do in this situation? How would the version of me who operates from complete confidence handle this challenge? What would the version of me who knows their worth beyond question choose in this moment? The answers that come aren't your imagination. They're downloads from the quantum field, where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Time isn't linear in the realm of consciousness. Your future self can influence your present moment just as powerfully as your past experiences have shaped who you are today. When you consciously connect with your highest potential, you create a bridge across time that allows wisdom, courage, and clarity to flow backward into your current experience. This isn't science fiction. This is how consciousness operates beyond the limitations of physical reality. The breakthrough you've been seeking isn't hiding somewhere in your future, waiting for you to become worthy enough to receive it. It's available right now, in this moment, waiting for you to align with the frequency where it already exists. Every moment you spend doubting, procrastinating, or making excuses is a moment you're choosing to stay disconnected from what's already yours by divine right. Your worthiness isn't something you need to earn or prove or build over time. It's something you need to remember and accept and embody fully. You were worthy the moment you drew your first breath. You were valuable before you accomplished anything, achieved anything, or became anything. Your existence itself is proof of your inherent worth, and no external circumstance can ever diminish that fundamental truth. Society taught you to measure your value through comparison, competition, and external achievement, but these measurements are as arbitrary as they are limiting. Your true value isn't relative to anyone else's accomplishments. Your worth isn't dependent on your productivity, your success, or your ability to meet other people's expectations. You are valuable simply because you exist, and that value is infinite, unchanging, and unconditional. When you truly accept this truth at the cellular level, everything shifts. You stop trying to prove yourself and start expressing yourself. You stop seeking validation and start creating value. You stop competing with others and start collaborating with the universe. This shift from scarcity-based to abundance-based living changes not just how you feel, but how reality responds to you. The universe is always saying yes to your dominant beliefs about yourself. When you believe you're unworthy, it shows you evidence of unworthiness. When you believe you're powerful, it reflects that power back to you. When you believe you're destined for greatness, it begins orchestrating circumstances that support your ascension to that greatness. This isn't favoritism from the universe. This is the neutral operation of consciousness creating reality according to its own patterns. Your thoughts are not private events happening inside your head. They're energetic transmissions broadcasting into the quantum field, attracting experiences that match their frequency. Your emotions are not just chemical reactions in your body. They're magnetic forces that pull certain possibilities toward you while repelling others. Your words are not just sounds you make with your mouth. They're creative commands that program your subconscious mind and influence the behavior of everyone who hears them. Understanding this level of responsibility for your own experience can feel overwhelming at first. If you're creating your reality through your consciousness, then you're responsible for everything you're experiencing, both wanted and unwanted. But this responsibility isn't burden, it's empowerment. If you created circumstances you don't want, you have the power to create circumstances you do want. If you attracted experiences that caused pain, you can attract experiences that bring joy. The key is recognizing that creation happens primarily through being, not doing. You don't manifest your desires by working harder, trying more, or forcing outcomes through effort. You manifest your desires by becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts those experiences. You embody the frequency of what you want until external reality has no choice but to match your internal state. This embodiment isn't pretending or acting or fake it till you make it. It's authentic alignment with your highest potential. It's choosing to operate from your strengths instead of your weaknesses. It's focusing on possibilities instead of problems. It's expecting miracles instead of anticipating disasters. It's trusting life instead of fearing it. These aren't forced behaviors. They're natural expressions of consciousness operating at its optimal frequency. Most people live in reaction to their circumstances. They let external events determine their internal state. They feel good when things go well and feel bad when things go poorly. But conscious creators live from a chosen state, regardless of circumstances. They maintain their alignment with possibility, even when current conditions suggest limitation. They hold their vision even when evidence contradicts it. They trust their path even when they can't see the destination. This unwavering faith isn't naive optimism or spiritual bypassing. It's recognition of a fundamental truth about how reality operates. Consciousness is primary, matter is secondary. What you consistently think and feel becomes what you eventually experience. This process is as reliable as gravity, but most people never learn to use it consciously because they've been taught that external conditions create internal experiences rather than the reverse. The moment you flip this understanding and recognize that internal states create external conditions, you reclaim complete creative authority over your life experience. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become a conscious architect of reality. You stop waiting for conditions to improve and start creating the conditions you prefer. You stop hoping for better and start becoming the kind of person who naturally experiences better. This transformation isn't something that happens to you. It's something you participate in actively through every choice you make. Every thought you think is either moving you toward your desired reality or away from it. Every word you speak is either programming success or reinforcing limitation. Every action you take is either aligning you with your dreams or keeping you stuck in familiar patterns. There is no neutral ground. You are always creating, always choosing, always determining your trajectory through the quality of your consciousness. The power to change your entire life exists in the next decision you make, not the big dramatic decisions that feel overwhelming, but the small moment-to-moment choices that seem insignificant but compound over time into massive transformation. The choice to think one empowering thought instead of one limiting thought. The choice to speak one word of encouragement instead of one word of complaint. The choice to take one step toward your dreams instead of one step away from them. These micro-choices don't seem important in isolation, but they're the building blocks of destiny itself. Every master was built through millions of small choices to practice instead of procrastinate. Every successful person was created through countless decisions to persist instead of quit. Every breakthrough was the result of accumulating moments when someone chose possibility over probability, faith over fear, action over hesitation. Your breakthrough is approaching with the inevitability of sunrise, not because you're forcing it, but because you've finally aligned with the natural flow of your own evolution. Every cell in your body is upgrading. Every thought pattern is reorganizing. Every emotional response is recalibrating to match the frequency of your emerging identity. This isn't gradual change. This is quantum transformation happening at the speed of recognition. The recognition that you are not separate from the power that creates worlds. You are not disconnected from the intelligence that orchestrates galaxies. You are not isolated from the love that holds the entire universe together. You are an individualized expression of that same creative force, temporarily focused through the lens of human experience, but never limited by it. When this truth becomes more real to you than your current circumstances, your circumstances will reorganize themselves to match this expanded awareness. This isn't metaphysical theory waiting to be proven. This is practical reality waiting to be applied. The universe isn't testing whether you deserve transformation. It's waiting for you to claim the transformation that's already yours. Your dreams aren't requests you're making to an external authority. They're memories of who you really are, calling you home to your authentic power. The life you desire isn't somewhere else, waiting to be found. It's right here, waiting to be embodied. The moment has arrived when you must choose between the familiar prison of limitation and the uncertain freedom of your authentic power. This choice isn't happening tomorrow when you feel more prepared. It's not occurring next week when circumstances improve. It's unfolding right now, in this very instant, as these words penetrate the layers of conditioning that have kept you operating at a fraction of your capacity. Your nervous system is designed to keep you alive, not to help you thrive. It's calibrated for survival in a world that no longer exists. The hypervigilance that once protected your ancestors from physical threats now manifests as anxiety about opportunities. The scarcity programming that helped them conserve resources during famines now prevents you from recognizing abundance flowing all around you. The tribal mentality that kept them safe in dangerous environments now limits your ability to expand beyond familiar territories. But here's what changes everything. You are not your nervous system. You are the consciousness that can observe your nervous system and make conscious choices about how to respond to its signals. When fear arises, you can acknowledge it without being controlled by it. When doubt whispers its familiar refrains, you can hear it without believing it. When anxiety tries to pull you back into old patterns, you can thank it for trying to protect you, and then choose courage anyway. This distinction between experiencing emotions and being controlled by them is the foundation of true freedom. Most people are prisoners of their own emotional reactions, bouncing between states based on external circumstances like pinballs in a machine. But conscious beings learn to maintain their center, regardless of what's happening around them. They feel everything fully while being owned by nothing completely. The resistance you're experiencing right now isn't evidence that this message isn't for you. It's proof that you're approaching the edge of your comfort zone, the boundary between who you've been and who you're becoming. This resistance is actually a positive indicator. It means your consciousness is recognizing possibilities that your conditioning doesn't know how to process. It means you're standing at the threshold of transformation. Every person who ever achieved something extraordinary felt this same resistance. They heard the same voices of doubt, experienced the same fears, faced the same internal opposition. The difference wasn't that they were braver or more confident. The difference was that they recognized resistance as a compass pointing toward their expansion. They understood that the biggest obstacles always appear right before the biggest breakthroughs. Your ego mind will generate 1,000 reasons why this moment isn't the right time, why you should wait for better conditions, why you need more preparation before you can step into your power. These arguments will sound completely logical and reasonable. They'll feel like wisdom and prudence. But they're actually the voice of limitation trying to maintain its control over your life experience. The truth is, there will never be a perfect time. There will never be ideal conditions. There will never be a moment when you feel completely ready. Readiness isn't a feeling that arrives like a package delivery. Readiness is a decision you make despite uncertainty. It's a commitment you declare in the face of fear. It's a choice you make when every external factor suggests you should wait. Those who transform their lives don't wait for confidence to appear. They act in spite of fear and discover that action creates the very confidence they thought they needed to begin. They don't wait for motivation to strike like lightning. They understand that motivation follows action, not the other way around. They don't postpone their dreams until they feel worthy. They claim their worthiness through the act of pursuing what matters to them. Right now, your subconscious mind is running calculations, weighing risks, analyzing probabilities. It's comparing your current situation to your desired outcome and highlighting every gap, every missing piece, every reason why success isn't guaranteed. This analytical process feels like careful consideration, but it's actually the mechanism that keeps most people trapped in perpetual preparation, endless planning, and constant delay. The universe doesn't respond to your analysis. It responds to your energy. It doesn't care about your logical arguments for why something should or shouldn't happen. It simply mirrors back the frequency you're consistently broadcasting. When you broadcast uncertainty, you receive uncertain results. When you broadcast scarcity, you experience scarcity. When you broadcast limitation, you attract limiting circumstances. But when you broadcast unwavering faith in your own potential, reality begins reorganizing itself around that certainty. When you emit the frequency of someone who knows they're destined for greatness, the universe starts delivering experiences that match that knowing. When you consistently embody the energy of your highest vision, external circumstances have no choice but to align with your internal state. This alignment isn't something that happens to you passively. It's something you create actively through conscious choice. Every morning when you wake up, you choose which frequency to tune into. Every moment throughout your day, you decide whether to focus on problems or possibilities. Every evening, when you reflect on your experiences, you select which stories to reinforce and which patterns to release. These choices seem small and insignificant in isolation, but they're actually the most powerful creative acts available to human consciousness. They're the building blocks of destiny itself. They're the votes you cast for which version of reality you want to experience. Most people cast these votes unconsciously, randomly, based on whatever mood or circumstance they find themselves in. But conscious creators vote intentionally, consistently, strategically. You've been voting for limitation without realizing it. Every time you focus on what's wrong instead of what's possible, you're casting a ballot for more problems. Every time you complain about your circumstances instead of appreciating what's working, you're electing to experience more lack. Every time you doubt your abilities instead of acknowledging your growth, you're choosing to stay stuck in familiar patterns. But here's the empowering truth. You can change your vote right now. You can shift your focus immediately. You can choose a different story instantly. The past doesn't determine the future unless you keep voting for it. Your history doesn't define your potential unless you allow it to. Your current circumstances don't limit your possibilities unless you surrender your creative authority to them. The person you admire most, the individual whose life makes you think, "That's what I want," didn't start with advantages you don't have. They didn't possess special gifts you lack. They didn't receive cosmic permission you're still waiting for. They simply made different choices. They voted for possibility when probability suggested limitation. They invested their attention in solutions when problems demanded focus. They maintained faith in their vision when evidence contradicted it. This same power of conscious choice is available to you right now, not when you graduate, get promoted, find the right relationship, or achieve some milestone that will finally make you worthy of success. Right now, in this moment, you have access to the same creative force that has manifested every breakthrough, innovation, and achievement in human history. The only thing standing between you and the life of your dreams is the story you keep telling yourself about why it's not possible. This story feels true because you've been rehearsing it for years, decades, maybe your entire life. You've collected evidence to support it. You've found examples that prove it. You've created a compelling case for why your limitations are real and your dreams are fantasy. But every story can be rewritten. Every narrative can be changed. Every script can be updated to match your current understanding rather than your past conditioning. You are not the author of your original story. That was written by parents, teachers, society, and circumstances beyond your control. But you are the author of your continuing story. You get to decide what happens next. Your transformation begins the moment you close this video and choose differently. Not tomorrow when motivation strikes, not next week when conditions improve, but right now with your next thought, your next breath, your next decision. The universe brought you this message because you're ready to claim what's always been yours. Stop waiting for permission. Stop seeking validation. The person you're destined to become is calling you home to your authentic power, and that call can only be answered in this moment.